You're listening to Finding the Truth with Myke Hideous. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Finding the Truth with Myke Hideous. I am your host, Myke Hideous. Today is the 16th of May, 2024. I believe it's, what is today? Thursday? Thursday.
It is
Hello.
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
No, Thursday. You know the day is actually
Yes.
named after
Named
Thor.
after Thor. That is correct.
Yes.
By the way, that is my co-host, producer, and partner in crime, Professor Z. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
There you go. So welcome to the show. So let me start by saying I have been losing my mind watching what is happening to the world and to this country as of lately, mostly with the politics and the wars, and the protests by college students, mostly college students, but other wackos as well. And I am continually losing faith in the grand picture of all things. I sincerely believe that something big is going to happen, and we are just, it's like we're losing our minds. You know, every once in a while, every so often, you have a generation, like an era of time where things are happening and people become concerned. They're like, oh, the world's going to end and so forth. Now, I don't necessarily believe that the world's going to end, but I sincerely believe that we are on the brink of WW3. And with what's going on, it's hard to really feel comfortable, at least for me. I'm a worrywart, number one, but man, oh man, I just can't believe what's going on with everything. And we've got a president in the White House, President Corpse, who just sits there and lies and lies and lies right through his teeth, right to the American people about things that we all know are false. He lies about inflation. He lies about the war. He lies about a multitude of things. And yet he's still the sitting president. And yet all that he's done has not only heavily affected the American way, but as a result, affected the world. And they've got Donald Trump in court for the things that have happened. I am, little by little, I am losing more and more faith on what is happening to the country and the world. So what's the weather like over by you there, Professor Z?
Well, sadly, I guess our political weather is basically about the same. Yeah, I can only underscore what you were mentioning, that damn. When
It's
you think
crazy.
it's really getting worse, maybe you could get a little worse. But I have to say, you've brought up some interesting perspective in the way that, yes, I'll go beyond what you said. We are already in World War III. It's just there's no shots been fired just yet. There's been plenty of deaths. There's been plenty of deaths around the globe, and definitely more deaths than you would expect in the last 3 years since Joe Biden took the job of being commander in chief, and it's very sad. Because it's all so unnecessary, and it's so much more ideology in the decision making of the administration. Because I'm not going to give him any credit for making any decisions. It's going to be we're going on this course because the stupid people, the crazy people, the what's the whole term? The crazy people are running the asylum now, and it's literally that case. And it's more than appalling. I mean, the stuff that's been going on recently, where the administration is withholding potentially actual information as well as weaponry from Israel, which is our still closest ally, and the fact that we're being seen as betraying our closest ally on the national stage
That's
is
right.
just
Just like
more
we
than
betrayed Afghanistan.
sure. Yeah, our allies in Afghanistan, and giving up $1 billion worth of billions of dollars worth of weaponry to the enemy. So
I mean, if I
I
may
just
just stop you for a second, the fact that there are American hostages held by these pieces of shit, hummus. That's right, I said it. Being held by these scumbags, and that we haven't done a goddamn thing except for give weapons to Israel. We haven't gone in there and blown them to smithereens. I'm sorry, war is a nasty thing. And it just goes to prove to you how nasty it is, because the Egyptians, the Jordanians, or whatever you call them, Jordanians, uh, none of them want to take in any of the people from Gaza, and yet
nope.
they make it, the media tends to take the information that they get from the liars. Let me repeat it again. Takia. Look it up and what it means of the Islamic religion. It means to lie to those who are not Muslim, to lie, to further the ideology of the Islamic religion, rather. That is what they're doing. And the American media, the Western media, is allowing it to take hold of them. When the Gazans say, "Oh, we've had 10,000 people killed today, women and children, and so forth and so forth," where's the proof?
Yeah. Well, besides where the proof is, when they say those numbers, they are actually just counting their actual fighters, because they use 19 and 18-year-olds in combat, and they're women and children, and as well as boys. But regardless, just to give you a number, as one of our news segments is by the numbers, so it's 222 days since October 7th. So there we've had U.S.
Right.
hostages in the possession of Hamas, and for 222 days, which is half of the time that the hostages were held by Iran way back in the day under the other failed president, Carter.
Carter.
444 days was those hostages. So we're literally at the midpoint. The same thing, and we're coming up on another election. How much you want to bet whoever is actually left alive as hostages may be actually let go on the day after the election? When Trump actually wins.
That's right.
If
That's
that could
right.
be that sad.
There are more people that are beginning to wake up, both in minority classes and the Democratic Party, who are beginning to see the true face of the Democratic Party. And I have lost friends, I have lost fans as a result of my speaking out against, or just speaking up that I'm a Trump supporter, like it or not. I just don't give a shit anymore. I'm so aggravated that people have judged me based on what I believe in, and yet anybody who believes in this fucking idiot that's in office right now has got a screw loose. They really do, because they have nothing that they can say, nothing they can say that this corpse in the White House has done that is positive, because there's nothing. There's nothing.
Nothing.
He's been in office. He's been in office for 3.5 years. He's been in Washington prior to that for 47 years. He did nothing then. He was a racist back then, and he's done nothing now. And the only reason he's doing what he's doing is he's trying to appease those voters who would be Palestinian, if you want to call them that, as opposed to the younger vote. He's losing both the Palestinians. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. He's losing the votes of the Arabs, and he's losing the young vote, because nobody trusts him. Nobody believes in him. This man is a crooked, corrupt POS.
And even though you just outlined his history, which is well known for basically lying and manipulating the truth, not to mention outright plagiarism. Look it up, people. He's
That's right.
actually been
That's right.
caught plagiarizing. It's the
Multiple
reality
times,
of
right?
the last week. The fact that you so willingly stab Israel in the back by saying, "Oh, we know
Ugh,
you're at a war, but you know what? We're not liking how you're doing your war, so we're going to hold back on stuff until you like straighten your situation out." And I was more than shocked. I don't know, Myke, if you heard this today, but apparently our military forces has done their job, and I didn't really realize this was a serious job, but they finished building a pier in Gaza so that they can actually deliver, humanitarian aid to the
yeah,
Gazans. So our U.S. government has pissed away our resources and our money and our own people to
what a
build them a
shock.
pier so we can deliver them resources. And, I'm sorry, how are we working both sides of this conflict? How can we both
In
be,
addition,
I mean, let
I
me
was
just
just going to
finish.
say, in addition to giving money to Iran, who were the fuckers that funded the whole October 7th attack in the first place, we've
$6
given
billion
money
for six
directly.
people.
That's right. We've given money directly to the enemy.
Yep.
But do you see those fucking idiot college students protesting about that? No. See, it's okay with them because they're manipulated to believe that Islamic religion is good. That's why there's queers for Palestine.
Which is
That's
the
why
most
the
absurd topic.
queers that are protesting for Palestine and saying that they support Palestine, yet they refuse to look at the footage that happened on January 7th, October 7th. And it just, I mean, are we raising idiots in this country now? Because it certainly seems that way.
Yes. Yes. We have generations of idiots because, and it's not because of them, it's because of our system. They've actually wanted to
That's right.
have literally a population of people that really don't know that much and will just do what they're told to do. Get a job, work for a living, and be sure to give your percentage to the government so they can continue to and have money to piss away. So it's more than
It's
horrible,
terrible.
how
It really is.
things are playing out. But I think back to one of the other things you said briefly, Myke, is the fact that people are waking up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were ever
Thank goodness.
if somebody listening to us thought you were woke, you were never really awake. You're only awake once you understand both sides of the conversation, both sides of the story, and you can make your own decision on what is true and what is not. And that
That's
is
right.
one of the basis of understanding what is the truth out there, because you cannot take anything
That
on face value.
now that's how I became an independent. I didn't. Nobody convinced me per se to go from being a Democrat to a Republican, which I'm not. But I did go from a Democrat to an independent, and all it took was for me to compare. I did my own research and I compared what certain media outlets were saying. I listened to the left wing media, which is pretty much all the mainstream. And then I listened to others who not only like Fox, but also independent shows, site like Don Bongino and other like smaller people, like sort of like us, people who do podcasts and have an intellect on what is actually happening. And that's what it
Right.
took for me to get to where I am now. But you know what? We could talk about this until I'm blue in the face, and nothing's going to change right now because we've got a bunch of idiots running the country, and we've got a bunch of dummies coming out of college. That's the future, folks. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, it's a very sensitive topic. It's about hormonal therapy and medications associated with sex reassignment therapy and those wanting to be the opposite sex. So, recently I just saw something online associated with hormonal therapy and sex reassignment surgery that had to do with Dr. Phil. If you know, he's a very popular guy on TV. He's now being criticized as for being anti-gay or anti-LGBTQFML, whatever. So he's been criticized of being against them because he brought up actual facts. So apparently, what he said was that the companies who provide, I'm going to read what I wrote down here, but in a nutshell, what he's saying is that the companies that make the hormone pills and all the medication that you have to take when you cut your pecker off and you lop your tits off and turn things into the other thing, and you have to take these hormones and other types of medications to help you transition. So apparently, where is it here? The American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Endocrine, did I say it right? Professor, did I say it right?
Yes,
Endocrine?
yes, 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 yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
The American Endocrine Society and all major medical associations have all signed off of these treatments uh, not providing information on long term effects. So, in
Because
other
there
words,
is
they're not
none. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
right,
man. Like
right,
there's no studies on this shit.
right. So Sweden, Norway, and several other European countries have stopped doing these procedures, particularly to kids and kids, children, basically anyone under 18, so to speak, um, because they cannot say in good conscience that these procedures do not cause harm to the patient because they do. And that is a direct quote from Dr. Phil on the Joe Rogan show.
Right.
Um, so, where's the worry about caring for humans and patients? They all came down us so hard about you have to take the vaccine for the China virus, but nobody's concerned about what this will do to kids if they take hormones and puberty blockers at age 13. What, am I the only one? Am I the only one who sees this as being a problem? I don't even
Sadly,
have
you
kids.
are amongst the few. I mean, it's stunning. Yeah,
I don't
you're
even
right. I
have
mean,
kids,
right, and you can
and
see
I
how
can see
wrong this
that this
is.
is wrong. Exactly. I mean,
I mean, I
hop
don't
in
know
here.
when, I don't know when the it becomes. I mean, when you and I were growing up, maybe we didn't realize that, of course, that, we weren't really mature until 25. And that's what made us, of course, slightly what we are today, because we didn't appreciate the fact we weren't growing up until 25. But we kind of know that nowadays. And the whole idea that we're allowing people to transition themselves or somehow affect their physical lives permanently by decisions before they're 18, if not 25, is just stunning. Like,
It
how can
is.
you possibly think that this is correct? And the reality is, what I said before is like, there have been really no studies on the long term effects of this. But at the very least, now we
Mhm.
have actual people who have gone through the process of being transitioned to where they don't, they really kind of regret the whole transition. So,
And
if that's not a good sign, people should be, again, you have to be a mature adult before you make decisions that are going to radically affect your life forever.
that's right. And what Dr. Phil was saying is that he was debating with one of these trans people who was so adamant about everything's safe and everything's okay, and he began to ask them questions about the very companies that provide the medication to these people. And when he began to ask the questions to the I think it was a girl, guy, I don't even know anymore, but it was a person, and they couldn't respond because he had the facts. He said to them, "Do you know that the information that you're talking about right now was put out by the very company that sells you the medication, which costs thousands of dollars, like
Hmm.
cancer medication?
Right. And
That
it's
you
not
think
like
they're going to badmouth their own medication?
no, and the fact that the person who receives the medication doesn't necessarily pay for the medication makes it a win-win.
Right.
All you have to do is
Right.
talk the person into taking the treatment, and everybody gets paid, and the person who receives whatever has to deal with the consequences. You know,
So,
and it's even hormonal therapy alone. I saw an interview not long ago with she now wants to be identified as a she decided to transition to a he, and she is permanently altered by this whole scenario, and she went into it when she was 13 or 14, and
oh
she
my God.
fortunately never went through the surgery. But she got immediate approval for surgery, for top surgery, but she never
Hmm.
went through with it. And even when you see her in interviews at this point, um, the one thing that stands out is that she has a very deep voice. And generally,
Hmm.
women don't have deep voices unless they're seriously heavy smokers and they've lived a long life of, whatever.
Hard life.
Yeah,
You're
just a
right.
hard life. You just generally don't see 20-year-old women with have like, trucker voices,
Talking like
you
this.
know, hi,
What's up,
I'm
baby?
Large Marge, I'm going to tell you.
Hi, my name's Maggie. You want to dance?
Exactly. Yeah, no,
So,
not really.
what I wanted to add was, so this sex change therapy, this sex change surgery, the success rate, a Swedish study did this research on it, and they say there's like after 10 years there's regret that sets in for many patients. In addition, the suicide rate jumps up to like 19% higher than the general population. And basically it's a 100% failure rate for sex change surgery because it's scientifically not possible to change a person's sex, only
Um,
alter its appearance.
and that is the absolute truth because, honestly, to your point, unless you can change your chromosome structure and your DNA, you're not becoming the opposite sex. You're
So
just putting on a
ultimately,
good show.
if 200 years, you're dead and buried after you went through all this thing to become a woman or a man, whatever, just altered your body parts and everything. 200, just theoretical, just imagine this. 200 years from now, they dig up your grave, or the person who was in the grave that had the transgender surgery, and do they do a DNA test on you, and they're still going to find the original chromosomes that you were born with, indicating that you're either a male or a female. And you might be a male with a vagina, or you might be a female with a penis. But one way or another, you are still originally what the chromosomes gave you. You know, and I've gone back on this so many times. I've had to prove, like, reiterate myself to people who listen to what I have to say now that they may not know already. I have nothing against gay people. I never have. But when you start lopping off body parts, like cut off your nose to spite your face kind of thing, that's where I have a problem. When I was a performer, I wore, I had my ears pierced. I used to wear the vampire fangs. I had, makeup on, and I had this whole, I played a part, but it didn't change me per se. I dye my hair, I still dye my hair. Doesn't change who I actually am. Speaking of which, by the way, I've made a promise to myself that I'm when I turn 60, I'm not going to dye my hair anymore.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is a special piece that we need to cut out and make sure that we have for posterity,
Yes,
for the future. Blah blah.
yes, it's true. I've decided when I turn 60, all this will become gray because I dye this too.
Oh my God, the
I'm not
secret is out.
it out. Yeah, I don't care. Let them know. But like what I'm trying to say is like you do certain things to make your appearance look the way it is, whether it would be like, for me, I can only speak for me, like if I wore big boots and I wore a badass leather jacket and a nice, black leather cowboy hat, and I got my rings on, and that was me trying to make myself look appropriate for the music genre that I was in. Nevertheless, when you are a man and you're trying to look like a woman, and you don't get your body parts removed, so in other words, a guy who still has his equipment is wearing a dress and makeup, and I don't know, maybe he puts a wig on with a bouffant hairdo, and he puts a bow in it. He's still a man. What is
So
happening to our humanity
I
in the
had to say,
West?
just to give,
Honestly,
I agree, and going over some of your points in this segment, talking about those that are transitioning, those that want to, go for it, but honestly, you got to really be of the right state of mind and be an adult before you decide to start having major surgery, because anything that makes you go under anesthesia is major surgery, and you don't want to do that unless it's something seriously wrong. So, doing it to try and correct something that is a perception in your life is something worth really considering first. And there's many ways, to go about it. But,
and I
the
just want to
whole
be
thing,
so clear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
go
I
for
think
it.
it's so important for me to be so clear to say that I don't have anything against people who are homosexual. I really don't. I don't care, to tell you the truth. I don't care. But I think that when you start believing you're something that you're not, the issue goes deeper.
Through the sheets of